Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. If you guys don't mind, I want to do something. I was on Hannity the other day, and we were arguing. I was debating some lady. I don't know her name. Sean calls her name out. And it was such an interesting discussion that I want to play the clip and let you guys sort of, hear it for yourself. Normally we wouldn't do this, but I think it's a good discussion. And in fact, I've pitched Fox on having these debate series where we can talk about these issues. But I want you to look at how this woman answers Sean's question. And I call her out, but I think it's good. I mean, as I said, if I didn't think the discussion was applicable, because we're talking about immigration, and the debate was vibrant, but more importantly, you'll learn how these people argue and how I call them out on it, I wouldn't play it. So here's the clip, and I'm curious what your thoughts are.
All right, joining us now to discuss and debate all of this, we have Emily Shire, journalist who appeared in the Washington Post, Daily Beast, and the New York Times, all three of my favorite places, and Kevin Jackson, Fox News contributor, executive director of the Black Sphere, who's been a longtime friend of mine, and he's a syndicated radio host. Welcome both of you back to the program. Emily, I'll start with you. Do you disagree with this merit system, this RAISE Act, and don't you agree that you have to have no English in America because it's the language of success?
I mean, I think we have a history of, I can speak to my own relatives, ancestors coming in not knowing English and then learning it and also retaining some of their native language skills along the way. I'm not opposed to what I know of this legislation so far. I don't know if I would say English should be the prime prerequisite for admittance to our country.
Well, I'm not saying it's the but isn't it
in need of reform? And
so, in other words, if we have limited slots available, we can't take everybody that wants to come into this country at any point. If we only have limited slots, shouldn't we first look for people that can contribute to medicine and engineering and to all the positions that we need to fill that are going to help grow the economy? And I'm not saying take people just based on what they offer, but for the most part, I mean, we want to make sure that they're not going to be dependent on the government from the first day they get here, right, Kevin?
Well, you're exactly right, Sean, but I want to cover the language issue first because that's a hot topic. I can tell you, I just got back from Paris, and I've traveled throughout Europe, lived in China, lived in France for a while, and one of the major immigration issues, the barriers, and I'm thinking of Scandinavia right now, is people can't speak the languages. Whether you go to, say, Iceland, Icelandic is a difficult language. You can't just go there and expect to get work. So if you're going to immigrate to a country, you should respect that country enough to learn its language. It's going to give you a barrier to that. And what's funny, Emily didn't answer the question. She decided to tell you about a personal thing about her family. Look, it is a common sense thing to tell yourself, if I want to go to Mexico, I should probably go legally, and I'm going to have a lot easier time in that country if I speak the language. Why is it so difficult for leftists to just say the obvious? But they won't do that because they know by answering your question, Sean, it's going to set the narrative off the wrong way. Now, you can look at the other impediments to all the other things. Culturally, you should learn the culture. Before I lived in France, I learned the culture of the French. Was it absolutely necessary? No, but it was a good thing to learn because it endears you to the culture you're going to. Final point, I didn't go there to change the culture. I went there to embrace it.
Emily?
Well, I think what we're missing in this whole debate is that the bigger issue with this bill is that it's going to slash legal immigration by leaps and bounds. The language part is, perhaps interesting, but I think the heart of the issue is that we're going to cut down on legal immigration, which could potentially only exacerbate our problem with illegal immigration. I think that's the prime policy concern in this bill. And while the language part certainly is fascinating, we can talk about it and have a charged debate. I think the real life implications and what it's going to mean for Americans, particularly the American workforce, is if we're reducing paths and potential for legal immigration, I have to think it's only going to increase illegal immigration, which is a problem that I think everyone, regardless of their side of the aisle, we know needs major reform.
Yeah, but look, so Emily, the argument for you is that we don't know what the implication is going to be, therefore we should allow illegals to come over, not worry about language issues and all the other problems.
That is not what I said. I said we need a channel that doesn't slash legal immigration. Because there's certainly a great fear that if you slash legal, there's more illegal.
Okay, but the point is this. America has a legal immigration system that is wholly ignored. And in fact, if you were to listen to the left, you wouldn't even know that we had a legal system. If you want us to address legal immigration, I don't think there's a conservative on the planet who doesn't want to address that. And in fact, I think most of us would even go to tell you that these dreamers, some of these kids that are brought over at the age of 2 and their parents won't even have the guts to tell them that they're here illegally, we would even be willing to take our compassion and understand their situation. But when the only way that we look at a problem is through the eyes and the optics of the lawbreakers, that's when you get the ire of conservatism.
I don't think we're only looking at through the optic of lawbreakers. I think we have a serious problem where we do have huge numbers of illegal immigration, and cutting down legal venues is not the answer to it. Also, Alex Nazarta, an immigration policy analyst at the Cato Institute, has looked at this bill, and he sees no evidence that the way it's structured will actually bring in more skilled workers.
Well, see, and what's funny about that is when you guys are arguing a point, you always want to go to somebody that's a, quote, expert. How about we go to the people who are impacted by these issues, the people who are impacted by the MS-13 gangs, the people who are impacted by the lawlessness that's created, the people who are impacted by the long wait lines. I will speak for the minority community because we get the brunt of it. These are not kids who are going to school with Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid's children. They're going to school in places where I live. I live in the city of St. Louis, on the south side of St. Louis, where we have to deal with the fallout of this because these kids don't speak English. These kids, at one point, were bringing scabies into the country. They overflood our hospitals. They tax every system that is really meant to help bring America
Whoa, Kevin,
up.
I haven't heard the word scabies. And how many? Are you serious?
Right. Yes.
No, I mean, is that
serious.
true?
Yes.
I don't even know what it is. Isn't that a vitamin A or
I had an outbreak
C
of that
deficiency?
My freshman year of college, and it was, let's just say, a Tony privileged institution. It happens sometimes.
No. I'm not being critical. I haven't thought about it. I haven't heard. Linda, have you heard about it?
No, there was an outbreak. There were 2 or 3 outbreaks that came from kids that came over through the.
All right,
the
2 or 3 is not.
Wave.
But listen, there's no doubt that we now pay billions and billions and billions because of illegal immigration. Our educational system is impacted. Our healthcare system is impacted, and our criminal justice system's been impacted. And to say that we're going to try and bring in the best of the best of the best, I kind of like that idea in terms of it's a merit-based system.
Absolutely.
To help Americans. By the way, and that doesn't compete with Americans that need jobs. They're hopefully bringing jobs with them and bringing creativity and brilliance with them. And, I just think that I know for New Zealand and Australia and a bunch of other countries, if you want to get into their country, you have to contribute to the economy. This is not new.
Well, Sean, let me say one quick thing. Look, what's funny about when we look at immigration, when we look at it strictly through the eyes of the left and what it means, they talk about the humanitarian aspects of it, et cetera. Well, we could do the same thing with education. The left will not allow people to go into Harvard willy-nilly, but they'll give you community college willy-nilly. I contend America is the Harvard of countries. Why is it that we can't set a standard that says if you want to get here, and you alluded to it, we used to bring the best and brightest. We no longer do that. We allow anybody to come over. It doesn't matter whether they want to come over to work and go after the American dream, and I think Emily would even contend that in many cases these people come over and they become a drain on the system, and I will even go further and tell you that some come over knowing they only want to be a drain on the system, because why not? America is an amazing place to live if you live on $3 or $5 a day.
I would just like to counter. Studies consistently show that immigrants as a whole commit crimes at lower rates than native-born Americans and actually contribute tremendously to our economy, regardless of skill set level. And I can certainly tell you, and I know you're going to harp that it's a personal anecdote, but I don't think I'm the only one, that my ancestors who came over did not necessarily come with tremendous skill sets, but they worked hard, and then their children worked hard and became educated. And I do believe that is part of the American story. And I don't think reducing legal venues for immigration is the way to maintain that ideal.
Emily, first of all, you keep talking about your people coming over. It sounds to me like this wasn't in the last 20, 30 years. We're talking about for decades ago. We can all concede that the immigration system at the time brought over people that didn't speak the language and all that, but they came over with a work ethic. If you want to ask me, do I think the majority of people coming to America today are coming over in search of the American dream? Yes. Are they bringing that same work ethic? The answer is no, because they've learned that the American system, welfare system, the system of entitlement, will let you live better by doing nothing. And we have far too many of those folks.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's back to being my show and not Sean's show. But I wanted to play that clip just to show you that when I'm arguing with these leftists, they want to reference there was a Cato study, there was a this study, there was a that study. I don't need studies to tell me what I intrinsically know. And what it does is it makes you believe that academia must know more than I do. They've studied the problem. Well, who's studying the problem? Have you thought about this? The people who study these problems are leftists who study the problems from only one side. They've already got the outcome. Global climate change. How did they study this issue? Did they study it from a common sense point of view and say, you know what, it's really funny that we were having all these hurricanes in the 1800s when we didn't have all the cars? No, it's definitely the cars. It's crazy, folks, and this is why I fight. We'll be back.
Kevin Jackson
on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.